Welcome to Mindful Makerspace. My name's Mrs. Nance. Today we're going to take those 2 deep breaths before we start our activity. Remember, the breath is so important to our body and our brain. Puts oxygen where it needs to go, and it keeps us calm, focused, and ready. So sit up nice and straight. We're going to be taking 2 mindful breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's pick your favorite flower. Today I'm going to choose the daisy. Here we go. Everyone breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel your muscles relax. You're calm and ready and focused. Enjoy your activity today. For this activity, we're going to learn how to code an Ozobot. An Ozobot is a sophisticated robot that reads code, and you can direct it the way you want it to. Now it can read code through markers or some fun stickers or even on your tablet. The bots come with different skins. The skins come in different colors. You can have black, white, turquoise, yellow, even fun skins like Spider-Man or Star Wars. There are different types of bots out there. This Ozobot is called a bit. The bit is smaller, it will read code, and it will light up. This is the Evo. As you can see, Evo is a little bit bigger than a bit. An Evo will light up, but also will make noises, and you can code from a device like an iPad to make it do what you want. So you can stack code with an Evo. You charge an Ozobot through a USB plug. Okay, this goes into your robot, and this goes into your USB plug into your wall or to your computer. Some kits come with little containers that you can either put your skins in or your bot. And then they usually come with some markers. You can go online with Ozobot and you can download sheets like the light show, which we'll be working with, color code sheets with pictures, and then color code sheets without pictures, and also a calibration sheet. You can download worksheets to practice with Ozobot, and this is the one that we'll be using. It's the #1 Ozobot sheet from their site. Ozobots are really sophisticated robots. This is a bit without the skin, so you can see the intricate circuitry inside that's going to allow it to read the code that you prepare for it. It's not a Hot Wheel or a Matchbox car. This is a toy that you can push and have fun with. You don't push a robot. The robot does have wheels, like a Hot Wheels or a Matchbox car, but when you turn it on, the wheels automatically roll. So the only thing you do with a bot after you code is you lift and put down. You never drag it and you never push it. Let's check out the bit a little bit more closely. There's a circle on one side and on the other. If you place your fingers on either side and press, the robot comes on and the wheels are already spinning. When I place the bit on the light show, it will change colors depending on what color it's rolling over. That's a light show. It's fun to create light shows with the markers. You can make any path you want for the bit, and it will change colors depending on what marker you choose to use. Let's learn how to code an Ozobot. Here is a code sheet, the color code sheet. One part is speed, another directions, and another cool moves. Notice in the speed and the directions, they're using 3 colors. Notice in the cool moves, they're using 4 colors to create their code. So here is a picture of a snail. A snail means really, really slow. If I place the colors red, green, and blue together, then my Ozobot will go really slow once the Ozobot reads that code. Check out this rocket, Nitro Boost. If I place blue, green, red together and have my bit roll across the code, it will go really, really fast. So depending on what you want your Ozobot to do, that's the code that you're going to color. If you want your Ozobot to go left, it's green, black, red. If you want it to go right, blue, red, green. If you want to go turbo, a speed, it's blue, green, blue. So all of these are codes for your Ozobot. Let's try them out. Before we code, we need to talk about markers. Ozobot comes with their own markers. On their site, they're about $6, and there's 4 of them, black, red, green, and blue. Ozobot markers come in a wedge shape. So if I open it, you can see that it has a wedge. You can either use the tip, which is small, or use the wedge. So here's the tip, and if I turn it for the wedge, you can see it's thicker. Ozobot loves thick lines. The neat thing about Ozobot, though, is you don't have to use their markers. You can use Crayola markers or Bic markers or Sharpies, but there is a difference. If you look at a Crayola marker, it has more of a cone instead of a wedge. It still has a point, but then you can lay it on its side and you can have that thick line that Ozobot really enjoys. Now I have some Bic markers here, and they're more like an Ozobot marker. It has a wedge, so I can either use the tip for small or place it on its side, and I have that thick line. Remember, Ozobot loves thick lines more than anything. We're going to start with the number 1 sheet, and we're going to do 3 color codes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can pick 6 different codes for this particular sheet. So we'll take our color code sheet and find out which codes do you want to color inside of the codes. This is a great introduction to Ozobot coding. So let's do fast. If I wanted Ozobot to go fast, I would need to color these 3 squares, a blue, a black, and a blue. Since I'm not making my own lines and I'm coloring inside of squares, I'm going to go ahead and use the tip of my marker. So blue, black, blue. I'm going to be really careful and try to stay in those lines and not leave any white in that box. Now markers are wet, so I don't want to put the next color right beside it, because when 2 wet markers meet, they bleed together, and we don't want any bleeds here. So I'm going to blow on this, and since it's blue, black, blue, I'm going to go ahead and do the blue over here because it's not touching the other blue. Very carefully fill in the box. Do not leave any white and try not to go outside of the box. What should I do next? Because this marker is wet. Good, I should blow on this. I could work on another code while those two dry. So let's do snail. Snail also uses blue, so let me do a blue right here while these two blues dry. When I put the lid on my marker, I'm going to hear that snap so that marker stays nice and wet. So what could I do with this snail while this blue is drying? If you said do the red, you're correct. So while these two are drying, I can go ahead and finish my fast code by coloring in the black. I'm going to blow on this. And by this time, since I colored that, let's go ahead and finish the snail with the green. Let's test Ozobot out. I always test my codes before doing the entire thing, just to make sure that I feel like I'm doing my codes correctly. So let's do the fast first. I'm going to take my Ozobot, turn it on, place it. Remember, you never push. Place it on the black thick line. Loves thick lines. And now he's going pretty fast. And now he's going really slow. Now he stopped at the next code, so I'm going to turn him off. He stopped because there was no code here. But no, in order for Ozobot to read code, it must be black on either side. Notice that all of the codes to color in on this sheet has black on either side of the code. If you have a different color here, he will only read a light show. If you want to direct him to do things, you need to code certain sequence of codes, certain sequence of color, and have it between two black lines. Let's do some more. Let's try Nitro Boost. I know that's everyone's favorite. So in order for Ozobot to read Nitro Boost, what do I need to put here? If you said blue, green, red, you're correct. That's how Ozobot reads the colors. The first color for your code is blue. So let's take our blue, color in our square, make sure we stay in those lines and not leave any white. Put the lid on securely. Hear that snap? Blow. I don't want to do the one right next to it right now. Why? Because they'll probably bleed. This might be still a little wet. So what should I do next? If you said go ahead and color in the red, you're correct. going to pause and let that dry. Then I will color the last color of green, and then we're going to test it out. Okay, let's test out our Ozobot again with all 3 codes. So I'm going to place my finger on the dots, press till it turns on, and then I'm going to put it on my first code. Ooh, it's going fast. Snail. Turbo. Why did it stop at the white? There's no code. It can't read it unless there's code. And remember, the code has to be surrounded by black. Okay, I finished my sheet. I have filled it with speed, different types of speed. I'm going to turn on my Ozobot. I'm going to place it on the black line, and I'm going to see if it could read all my codes. It did it, and it'll keep going over and over again. Now let's say I want to put my Ozobot up for a bit. I can place it on my light show so I can keep coding. Now let's say when I place it on my light show, I placed it on after it was going turbo. So when I place it on my light show, if it's still going too fast, just turn it off and turn it back on. But let's say it's not doing what you asked. You put a code on and it's not reading it. You followed all the directions. You stayed in your lines. You didn't have any bleeds. What you'll need to do then is called recalibrate. So maybe there's so much code inside of Ozobot, it needs to prepare for a new play. So you'll turn Ozobot off and put the calibration sheet. And the nice thing is it teaches you how to do this. So what you'll do is you'll turn on Ozobot and keep holding the button until it turns white. Then place it in the middle of the calibration. When it turns green, it is ready to play. It is recalibrated. You will just have to turn it back on and place it on your coded sheet. After you successfully coded your sheet, maybe you'll think, well, gosh, I really wanted to do some cool moves, but it only allowed me to do a 3 code. But I'd like to try some 4 codes, like I want Ozobot to do a zigzag, or a back walk, or a spin, or a tornado. How can I do that? Let me show you. What you can do is create your own paths inside and outside of your worksheet. Remember, all paths must start with a black, then code, then black again. I'm going to use the wedge marker because it's a little bit easier, and then I'll show you how to do the cone. If I wanted a brand new path from here to here, I would just need to start my path thick, not using the tip, but using the wedge. Then I get to choose which cool move I want and place it here. So let's say I wanted to do a zigzag. I would take my blue and on the wedge make a really small mark that's going to be like a box. These are not perfect. You're going to have to let that dry. It's pretty wet. So let's try with a cone, the Crayola markers. The difference is you will have to place it at an angle in order to get the thick marker. So let's say I decided to do a path here. Notice I laid my marker down, did not use the tip. I will do a tip over here and you'll see what happens with Ozobot. So now I'm going to do a cool move and say I want to do a spin here. So I'm going to take my green, lay it down, and pull a small square. I can now go back to my zigzag. Since I'm using the wedges here, I'll just make another small mark, which is a tiny square. There's no guarantee that Ozobot will be able to read these, but it's fun to see if you can free code. We'll finish these two codes out. Okay, using a wedge marker here, but notice it's permanent, so it kind of expands some, versus the Crayola cone, which I laid down. In order to finish the code, I must use another black line. So this is the Crayola, lay it down, and take it to the next path. This one's the wedge, take the black and go all the way across. Now let's look at the small one and do a code. I'm going to make that a little bit longer. And some of you might be easier to make a little square and then color it in instead of using the wedge. Now let's see what happens when Ozobot is on my new codes and my new paths. Now remember, you always want to test before you keep going because maybe we're doing something wrong. I'm going to turn Ozobot on. Remember, these might not work because you free code. Let's see. Oh my goodness. That one worked. Let's see if the wedge doesn't look as pretty. I don't know. Oh, I'm going to put it here and see what happens. Oh, it didn't like it. Well, let's look at it. Is it nice and square? Nope, kind of went out. May have bled some. So it didn't like this code at all, but it did like this one. Let's see what happens on this skinny line. Notice he doesn't move. He must have, or she, your robot must have thick lines for the robot to go up your path. Notice it read the code going this way, but did not read the code going this way. Oh, but it did that time. Goodness. Oh, I can't wait to see what you're going to do with your Ozobot. I can't wait to see your clean paths to learn and then learn on new paths, making sure to use thick lines, tiny squares that do not bleed, that there's no white. Happy learning!